Greetings and salutations, all you fine feathered individuals. It is another epi of League Online. Eric and Mark here with you beauties for some bangers on the Rift. We're talking LPL and NACL, kicking off not just their split, but their year, because they didn't have an actual split one. But we're beginning with some mojo being found, and I don't want us to overreact here, but we've been teleported back to 2018 because we are fully in the Invictus gaming era. Another head-to-head matchup against JDG, and IG improves to a perfect 6-0 to top Group D.
Oh, baby. Invictus Gaming, the reunion, rebirth of this lineup, the 2018 World Championship team. Yes, they are back on the Rift, and we are seeing what they can do with a little time, a little preparation since we saw them last through the winter split of the LPL. And yes, they have roared out of the gates in this early part, in this early, placement match type of round robin within the LPL. We have seen them shine, and a big part of that is going to be Rookie in the mid lane, Gala down in the bot lane providing. And then, you can even look at other aspects of this team. You can talk about the jungle and find where things are going right for them and how they're outshining their opponents.
Yeah, and obviously this is amazing to see the level that they're at, because we were so disappointed in the first split. They never really... some of them kind of looked washed up. Rookie especially, and I know we're always saying that about Rookie, but he's had like his 6th best games of the year to kick off here, and the Shy's been doing business as usual. We got some Kaisa sightings out of Gala, not in the marquee JDG matchup, but this is really a time to showcase JJ, and I feel like when this roster was first announced, we said, okay, yeah, the solo lanes are great, but JJ is going to actually be able to shine with some star players on his squad. And through 6 games, he's looking like a premier jungler in the LPL again.
It's one of those situations where, everybody at the top end, every of these elite teams in the LPL, they've got incredibly skilled guys, really important players in the important positions, right? You're talking mid lane, you're talking ADC, even the top lane, the solo carry potential for these guys. But what you also look for is, okay, how is the mixture going to play with itself? And how do we make the sum of our parts better throughout this type of thing? You get a catalyst like JJ in the jungle. That is why a lot of this excitement about the rebirth of this IG lineup was around not only the returning star players, but having an X factor like JJ in there to amplify things, to set things up and get it going. You didn't see enough of that, I felt like, through that winter split part, but we are certainly seeing that, and so are the enemy teams in the LPL.
And again, talk about, there's no better stamp of a veteran in the LPL than seeing Missing on the day hit 6,000 career assists. And you're going, wow, 6,000. He's into the top 5 now. Wow, that's pretty amazing. And then you see Mako at number 1 with over 9,000 assists. He's got a third as many as Missing on top of it, which obviously the guy's been there for over a decade. But he, alongside Gala, is also looking in fine form. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. They've only played 6 games. But the LPL will be a better region and a better product if IG maintains this level.
Yes, if they can continue to level up, continue to figure things out together as that group, as an individual kind of focus in the bot lane type of thing, yes, this is going to be one of those things that continues to push the LPL, is only going to give us a better scenario when we're talking about an MSI, a Worlds type of appearance thing. When you mentioned the type of excitement, type of gameplay that could be brought forth by an IG lineup like this, an IG lineup where Gala and Mako start to find that chemistry together, on top of JJ really facilitating things for Rookie, for the Shy. Even the Shy is still playing the Shy type of things in that top side. You know, it's really feast or famine at any point in time. But for this IG lineup, things are going really well so far this year.
And how about 2 of the biggest picks here so far in the LPL? Our number 1, this Gwen in the top lane, which is like 11-3 now or something, and has been dominating. And ever since the new skin drops, we're seeing Nefiri in the jungle pop up in the LPL and other regions as well. Forgot this was a champion, but now she's becoming a staple in the meta.
you'd be excused for forgetting it's a champion, because yes, we have seen extremely little of this champion on a professional stage. So the sudden boom of it within the roles right now and being played in the jungle and how it's being taken. Yeah, I think you'd be in pretty healthy company of people that have forgotten what she is capable of. But one thing you will never forget about Nefiri, she's a reset champion. She's a 200 years of Riot game design, still is deep down in there. And I think a lot of people maybe coming to terms with that quickly on Summoner's Rift, feeling the pain of it.
And get used to bark and dog puns on casts with her in the jungle. This is just the very beginning of it all. So 6-0 for IG. They obviously join BLG and Weibo in that Ascension group in the next round. And despite losing 2 head-to-heads to them, JDG still very comfortably that second seed. And again, there's no difference finishing first or second. They're going to be advancing to that next round. And even though Pays got caught out a few times on the Jhin, JDG still look fine and really no big issues with them.
It's still one of these teams that's going to be a project throughout the year in the LPL to see how they can come together, find their identity type of thing. You know, of course, we talked so many times, the drafting, with CV Max is always going to be a focus point for a lot of people as you move on through. But yes, they do secure themselves that exit, that second spot out of this situation. Partly due to their strength and partly due to LGD and LNG looking about as pathetic as possible.
LGD, they had some moments. Xiaoyi is a fun guy to watch, but that's about it. This format, again, all it does is really showcase that there is very much a top half of the LPL and a bottom half. And again, we're kind of just going, can we skip the playoffs and get some of these top teams matching up?
Yeah, waiting for that one in the LPL. I have faith, I think, at the end of the day, that this will lead to, again, another thrilling and exciting type of playoff rush and finish. But it does feel a little bit, not quite as impactful in the early bits going through these placement group matches.
And just remember, this is kind of a warm-up before we get to, they're calling this, it's almost like the preseason 2 split 2, these placements, before we actually get into the fearless round action. So just treat it as an appetizer, and we're treated to, again, IG looking absolutely insane very early on in this split. We had the debut of this new look North American Challengers League. Didn't really get one in that first split, and we get a banger to kick things off. Luminosity Gaming against Near Airport making their debut. 9 out of 10 players in this series. Only TF Blade has not started in an LCS game. So we had 9 former LCS pros in the challenger scene.
Yeah, and there's a conversation to be had about that and how you're, working through to promote fresh new talent and having them get the experience and all these type of things. But focusing in on this matchup right here, number one, fantastic to see Near Airport in the NACL. I think that was one of the things that we wanted to see from this group, to take that next step forward after their last outing, and realizing that next step forward is an increase in competition. It is certainly something that they're going to be feeling and talking about, in the level of preparation that is necessary to succeed at this type of point. That'll be another thing that I think you'll look at, because, again, the comparison, whether fair or not, is going to be to Las Ratonas over in Europe throughout the EMA Masters and everything else. And you are bolstered by Cadril as that coach, as that pick and ban strategist. So much of his, talk, all those things before we ever got to the Las Ratonas experiment was focusing in on pick and ban and going over those strategies and ideas. Would love to see some of that come through for this Near Airport team. That would be an area that they can improve about, I would say, immediately.
And, truthfully, this matchup against Luminosity, maybe they are probably the best team in the NACL, because these are more recent LCS pros. This is essentially Shopify Rebellion from last year. Obviously, Double Lift Pole Belter. Been a while since they were actually in the LCS. So maybe the toughest matchup. And this was fully a revenge game 3. Tactical on Tristana against the dude he replaced on Team Liquid in Double Lift. And Tactical, there weren't Malphite ultis today. This was just a clean Tristana game throughout.
I was going to say, no Malphite sightings, nothing over there.
Or if they were, it was like a 3-man knockup, because they were good.
They were fine. My man was clean on that one and does get the revenge. The factor here is going to be about the bounce back, right? The setback in this situation for near airport. It's coming a lot sooner than we saw with Los Ratones in this situation, and how do they bounce back is going to be obviously a big focus point for the community in this type of one. And it's a real one, right? You face this type of adversity in this type of situation, right, in a more professional type of environment, right, in a traditional LCS LTA type of team. Sure, there's different things going on, but now near airport, you're figuring it out with these 4 buddies on this squad. I'm willing to let it play out. I want to see the boys bounce back.
And there's no better comms than seeing Spica execute to turret at level 5 trying to dive fake god,
I'm not going to say we've all been there, because I think a couple people have maybe a little bit more self-restraint to not go in on those type of moments. But I'm not going to say I haven't been there, those type of ones. So fun to hear the comms in that moment.
And you know what? Big shout out Zazel was doing the interview afterwards, after the series win for Luminosity, and kind of talking about near airport, saying, giving them credit because so much, all their scrims, and he basically says, you see all the worst parts for this team because it's fully transparent. They're broadcasting everything. How often do we hear about guys going 0-10 in scrims, but we never get to see it? So we basically giving them a shout out that I respect them showing the ugly parts, and there's been some ugly parts.
Of course, especially with a content team, for the most part of it, those ugly parts are going to be the content moments.
That's the best content.
Anyone can tell you, any TV producer, drama, all these type of things, the bad soap operas. Yeah, you throw them in there. You got to have that type of stuff to spice up a timeline. So yes, of course, people are going to pay attention to that type of one. But I think it's important. I think it was one of these kind of recognitions from Zazel, someone that isn't as removed from the professional scene, giving acknowledgement of what it takes to step back into it. Because I think a lot of people initially just go, oh yeah, you've been playing League, you've been playing solo queue. Yeah, it's a little more organized. Yeah, there's more attention to it, but it's, riding a bike. You just get back on it, you get back out there. It's not that simple. It's just simple to join right back into the ecosystem, the competitiveness that is there in a professional environment. And even in the LTA, in NACL, that is here. And so to get that type of kudos to them, nice to see from Mr. Zazel.
And I'm very curious how this, split plays out, because we know, I don't want to call it part-time, but this is kind of a side gig for a lot of these guys, especially somebody like Biofrost, who's, actually pursuing a degree while he's doing this. So what is the baggage that comes as this split goes on? I think they did like a draft prep basically the day of, like before these matches, which obviously, again, Luminosity might be the best team in the league that they're matching up against, but if they continually lose some games, then the competitiveness of these guys is going to start to irk.
It's going to hit that make or break type of moment, right? It's either going to be that situation that breaks the camel's back, or let's get back up out there, let's get this done type of situation to reinvigorate the team is what we're talking about. For near airport, I think one of the biggest things with it is that investment of time, that focus, that commitment to this type of project. We see with Los Ratones, it is almost that full board commitment towards this group and what is going on. Is it the same here? And is it bad, good, whatever? It doesn't matter, that type of thing. It just matters whether that investment is going to be there as far as on the days, because as you laid out, a day before doing this type of draft preparation, you compare that to a Los Ratones. You compare that to your competitors in the NACL, and that's not going to be enough to have you on that equal footing to where then, hey, it can be about your skill. It can be about your decision-making on the day.
And, I get the content thing as a whole is great. It was perfect for Cagel and the boys when they had some fun scrim moments, but they were winning. They were winning stage games pretty much the entire way through, except for that one series loss to KC. We'll see what the effect is if Near Airport starts dropping more series, because even as a content team, I think we know guys like Double Lift and Pole Belter, if they're losing a bunch of games, it's all of a sudden not going to be as fun. I know that's an overreaction to one single series, but
we just talked all about having drama, storylines, all that type of stuff needs to play in. You also need to have the sweetness of success and victory to keep people invested and interested in the progression of the story type of thing. Same thing here goes for Near Airport and for these guys and their investment in it. I hope that we are seeing this one. It is just this little type of speed bump, type of readjusting, resorting themselves at this type of level in the NACL now.
The game of musical chairs, in terms of what organizations are in the LEC, continues to roll on. It feels like at least every year we get a new squad entering. Half of the time that's just Mad Lions rebranding to a different team name. But the latest has to do with Rogue, and we thought 2025 Rogue wouldn't even be in the league. They ended up scrapping together a roster at the last minute and proceed to go 1-8. But the latest is we're hearing that Na'Vi may be entering the scene to take over Rogue's spot as early as the summer split. Obviously not in time for spring, but Na'Vi never really dove into the League of Legends side of thing. I feel like they did like 8 years ago in the amateur scene, but obviously one of the most famous esports organizations, Counter-Strike and Dota, are the two main titles that come to mind for me. And I think it's time for Rogue to go because we've had the same thing for 4+ years. If this ends up happening, I'm happy to see it.
Na'Vi, an organization with very much, Russian, Eastern European type of, a geographic background and support type of thing. Very much I would say a Dota type of organization in the past. So interesting to see them have an interest in League of Legends and trying to take that plunge in there, but very much so welcome with open arms type of situation to come in anybody to replace Rogue and what they have become at this point. I think one of the clear signs that I'm buying into this rumor, I'm thinking that it is very credible, has been Rogue's social media accounts, YouTube account. You can go check it out. They have been posting videos. They've been looking to try and get a little bit more action, a little more traction compared to the previous years. And that simply, could be just, hey, they're finally waking up. Or maybe they're waking up because there's a reason. There's a fire lit up under there. Hey, we got to get this thing selling. We got to get things actioned here. Na'Vi wants this going. So I think that's where things are heading. And very much so one of these ones where I would welcome this change. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that would welcome this for the LEC.
And most of that more recent content train is 100% because Yankos is under the streaming banner for Rogue. And honestly, that might be your main selling point as an organization. If you go, hey, we've got Yankos, one of the most popular EU streamers, under the banner, and maybe Na'Vi will look to compete with him. But it's pretty much the same Rogue roster coming back, and we're expecting a bottom 2 finish again in the LEC.
At the end of the day, it still is Rogue at the current situation, and it's going to be Rogue the next day type of situation. But looking forward deeper down the line, I think this is something that will come through, and one of these ones that hopefully does try to reinvigorate this spot within the LEC.
And the reason they're not coming in for spring is because, well, we're a few days away from the spring split quick kicking off, so not quite enough time to turn that one around. But we are entering split number 2 for the LEC, and this is probably the most standard format that they're entering. It's just purely single round robin, best of 3s. So you're going to play 9 best of 3s, top 6 teams advance to playoffs, and you've got a regular playoff bracket. So simple. We're going to be in fearless. No best of 1s like we had in that first split. And let me tell you, looking at this week 1 schedule, Movistar Koi are getting dropped into the fire right away. They got 2 matches. Not every team even has 2 best ofs in the opening week, but they're matching up against G2 and Carmine Corp. Those are the top 2 teams that we just had in power rankings.
See a lot about the makeup, about the identity and character of this Movistar Koi team in this first set of matchups for them, because it's either going to be, woe is me, are you kidding me? We got G2 and Carmine Corp. How could we get the 2 best teams? We're going to be set behind all this type of stuff. Or we get the Movistar Koi that comes out and puffs their chest and go, we're the superstars here. We got an opportunity to shake the tree of the LEC, jump out in front of these forerunners, take everything, take our destiny in our own hands. That's the type of Movistar Koi that I think a lot of us want to see step out of the gates and have that type of attitude. Now, all that's good and all, but what is the pushback going to be like from the likes of G2 and Carmine Corp heading into this split? We already talked about G2 recently, looking at them in the fire that will be there to reclaim their throne within the LEC, and for Carmine Corp to continue to improve, to show that we are the deserved champions of that first split. We are the ones that pushed Hanwha Life, the only ones really that could push Hanwha Life at this international tournament, and we are coming back with those lessons to keep working on it and keep moving forward. Going to be very interesting how just that little section of the LEC schedule is going to work out in this first week.
Yeah, and I think Koi, you can spin that first week in a positive way, however it plays out. Okay, you 2-0 the two best teams and your confidence is sky high for the season. You split 1-1, you go, okay, great, we're feeling good. Even if you go 0-2 and get pumped, you can look at the schedule and go, well, it only gets easier from here. We've already played the best two teams, so very interested to see how Koi comes out of the gates.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that escape room type of situation for Movistar Koi, that they can say, you know what? Yes, we did lose to the two very best teams and whatever. We can recalibrate. We can reset. We can cut it off and go, LEC didn't start this weekend. No, whatever. This is just how it was a dream. Move on to the next one, and that's where you start fresh type of situation. Can be the advantage of hitting those heavy hitters early, but I still want to see them come out with the attitude of trying to take it and grab the control of the LEC right from the get-go in these matchups.
Opposite is kind of true for Fnatic, who kick off the entire split against Giant X. Obviously, that marquee bot lane matchup against their former boys in Noah and Jun. And then they close out the week against SK. So that's an opportunity for Fnatic to go, remember when we went 8-1 in that first round? Remember that we are still legit contenders for a title against two middle-of-the-pack teams. I need a statement weekend out of Fnatic.
I think the importance on that statement weekend from Fnatic is not about them just scraping through. You need to make a statement through these ones that you are clearly the better team, that you are cut above, you are a different category than what is going to be expected out of these matchups. And your Giant X could be a lot closer, could be messier, depending on how much Giant X has improved or where Fnatic is in these type of ones. But absolutely, that SK one needs to be that blowout, needs to be that overwhelming victory for me in order to keep that type of excitement and that train rolling for the Fnatic team.
But just week one, overreactions will be plenty. Just excited to have best of threes to kick things off over in Europe. But that is it today for Liga Unlocked. Eric and Mark here with you. Absolute beauties. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.